And Lexie Hull was on Fox News. She was on Fox News, and they asked her about some of the challenges of being a part of Caitlin Clark's team and playing with Caitlin Clark and all of this stuff. And she wasted no time to address, hey, you know, it can get nasty online. It's a lot of criticism that come with it. Man, Lexie might be out, y'all.
WNBA fans are completely stunned right now because what Lexie Hull just said on national television has triggered one of the biggest rumor waves we've seen all season. And now people are seriously asking if this is the beginning of the end for her time with the Indiana Fever. Because even though she never directly said she wants out, the tone, the wording, and the timing of everything she revealed has fans connecting dots that honestly don't look good. And the moment...
Ever been on the receiving end of one of those character attacks?
I mean, I'm sure I have. I try not to read comments.
This clip hit social media. It spread fast, not just inside the WNBA community, but across sports media in general. Because whenever Caitlin Clark is involved, the spotlight gets bigger, the reactions get louder, and every small comment turns into a major storyline. And that's exactly what happened here. Because Lexie Hull didn't go on a small podcast or a quiet interview, she went on national television and got asked directly about what it's like to play on this Indiana Fever team right now, and instead of giving a safe media answer, she gave something real, and that's where everything changed. Because her answer didn't focus on basketball, it didn't focus on strategy or teammates, even the game itself. It focused on pressure. And the moment she said that, everything shifted because she described the experience as overwhelming at times, with constant scrutiny, opinions everywhere, and criticism that goes way beyond normal sports talk. And when she said that things get personal, that people cross lines and attack players as individuals, not just athletes, you could feel the weight behind those words, because that's not something you say casually. That's something that builds up over time. And what really made fans stop and replay the clip was when she admitted that she avoids reading comments entirely because of how negative things can get. And that one detail right there changed how people interpreted everything. Because that doesn't sound like a player dealing with occasional criticism. That sounds like someone protecting themselves from an environment that has become too much. And that's where the conversation exploded, because fans immediately started asking who is responsible for that pressure. And the uncomfortable truth that started surfacing is that a lot of it is coming from the same fan base that supports the team the most, because since Caitlin Clark entered the league, the Indiana Fever transformed overnight from one of the least talked about teams into the center of the basketball world, with sold-out arenas, record-breaking viewership, and non-stop media coverage. But with that attention came something else. Expectations, and those expectations didn't just land on Caitlin Clark, they landed on everyone around her. And Lexie Hull has been right in the middle of that storm, because every missed shot, every mistake, every small moment gets amplified online. And suddenly players aren't just competing in games, they're being judged in real time by millions of people. And that kind of environment can wear anyone down, no matter how tough they are. And what made Lexie's interview even more interesting is how carefully she chose her words, because she never directly mentioned Caitlin Clark by name. Instead, she kept referring to everything as happening since 2024, which might sound subtle, but everyone knows exactly what that means, because there's no version of this story where Indiana's rise happens without Caitlin Clark being at the center of it. And by avoiding the name Lexie was clearly trying to stay respectful, trying to protect the relationship, and not create unnecessary drama. But at the same time, the message still came through loud and clear, because she was describing the reality of playing in that spotlight without pointing fingers. And that balancing act is incredibly difficult, because on one side you have loyalty to your teammate, and on the other side you have your own experience and what you're dealing with personally. And when those two things don't fully align, it creates tension, even if nobody says it out loud. And then the conversation shifted to what's happening on the court, and whether the Fever are being targeted more physically by opponents. And again, Lexie kept it diplomatic, saying the game is naturally physical, and that social media tends to exaggerate things. But fans weren't fully convinced, because they've watched the games, they've seen the intensity, they've seen the extra aggression, and they've seen players on Indiana take hits that go beyond normal competition. And when you combine that with the off-court pressure, it starts to paint a bigger picture of what it actually feels like to be part of this team right now. Because it's not just about basketball anymore. It's about everything that surrounds it. The attention, the expectations, the criticism, the physical play, all of it combined into one experience. And that's where the rumors about her future started gaining real traction, because when a player openly talks about mental pressure, avoids social media, and describes the environment as overwhelming people, start asking the obvious question, is she happy? And if the answer isn't clearly yes, then the next question comes. Quickly, what happens next? Because Lexie Hull is not just any player, she brings real value to this team. Her defense, her energy, her ability to guard multiple positions and do the small things that don't always show up in highlights make her an important piece of the roster. And players like that always have options in this league, because every team needs someone who can bring that kind of effort consistently. And if another team offers a similar role with less pressure, less scrutiny, and a more stable environment, it becomes a real decision, not just financially, but mentally, because at the end of the day, players are human, and the situation they live in matters just as much as the contract they sign. And that's where things get uncomfortable for the Indiana Fever fan base, because the same passion that has made this team so popular is also creating the kind of environment that can push players away without anyone intending for that to happen, because fans want success, they want wins, they want their favorite star to shine, but sometimes that intensity turns into criticism directed at the players around that star. And when that happens consistently, it creates a situation where teammates feel like they're being judged not just by opponents, but by their own supporters. And that's exactly what Lexie Hull was hinting at without directly saying it. And now the responsibility shifts to the organization. Because keeping a player like her isn't just about matching offers or negotiating contracts, it's about creating an environment where she actually wants to stay, where she feels supported, where the noise doesn't outweigh the love for the game. And that's not something that can be fixed overnight, because culture takes time. And right now, the Fever are still adjusting to the massive spotlight that came with Caitlin Clark's arrival. And the reality is not every player thrives under that level of attention. Some rise to it, and some quietly start looking for a different situation where they can focus purely on basketball. And that's why this moment feels so important, because even though nothing official has been announced, the signals are there, the conversation has started, and once that happens, it's very hard to ignore, because rumors like this don't appear out of nowhere. They grow from real moments, real comments, and real emotions that people pick up on, and right now all of those pieces are in place, which is why fans are watching so closely to see what happens next, because if Lexie Hull decides to stay, it will say a lot about her resilience and her commitment to the team. But if she leaves, it will raise even bigger questions about the environment in Indiana and how sustainable this level of pressure really is for a roster that's still trying to build something long-term. And that's what makes this situation so fascinating, because it's not just about one player. It's about what happens when a team suddenly becomes the center of attention overnight, and how everyone involved adapts to that reality. Because success brings opportunity, but it also brings challenges that aren't always visible on the surface. And right now, those challenges are starting to show in ways that people can't ignore anymore. So the only question left is simple. Will Indiana find a way to keep one of their most important pieces, or is this the moment that fans look back on as the beginning of a major change for the Fever? Because one thing is clear after that interview, people are paying attention now more than ever. And whatever happens next is going to matter more than anyone expected.